is realize that there are actually 9 different systems that we look at, 9 different systems in the body, and any one of those systems could actually be a system that has your core issue in it. So if I only have a hammer, then everybody's a nail. You know what I mean? Everybody's a nail. So, oh gosh, I had that right away. So one of the systems is your musculoskeletal system, which is muscles and bones, okay? So it's, you know, your muscular system, there's how many muscles in the body? I think 236 or something like that, whatever. But I always thought, as I said earlier, like, oh yeah, every problem is there, you know. And what I realized is it's a map. It's a map to tell you what could be driving the pain in the muscle. So most of our pain, most of it, is in the muscles. But that does not mean that the muscle is actually the place where you have the originating pain. So that's why that's such a limiting view, is to come in and see it in the muscular system. We also have the skeletal system, and one of the things is that your skeletal system needs to be kind of put together in order for you to actually feel supported and support in the body. So I won't talk about, because we do a lot of work with bones, but not like chiropractic work. We come from another direction to actually release and help things come back into line so that your body is like more together, okay? So that's one system. There's just more muscles. Another system in the body is fascia. And we've heard of everybody's heard of fascia? Yes? Good. Because fascia has like a lot of roles in the body. And because I came down the muscle track, I did not come down the fascial track. In the early years, I never gave fascia its due. Well, I want to give fascia its due these days, I'm telling you, because fascia is like, wow, fascia is huge. Not only is fascia, it's around everything in your body. Every single thing, except for there's a few nerve tracts, the fascia is not around that. But everything else, it's around. And why is it around it? Well, one of the reasons for fascia, you have to realize that fascia is like a semi-viscous kind of substance. And it allows things, whether it's muscles to glide, or whether it's organs to let things moving through. That's going to let that happen. But interestingly enough, I mean, fascia has roles like support, and it has roles like protection. It has roles to help movement. But the other thing it does is that you actually have current going through your fascia. Wow. I mean, like, hello, wow. You also have hormones going through your fascia. So there's a whole nother piece around fascia, and it's all the roles that it actually has. You have fascia that is around your brain and spinal cord. You have fascia around your lungs. It's called the pleura. You have fascia around your heart. It's called the pericardium. So you've heard these words before, but you've never, maybe you have, I didn't, till I learned, is that like what it actually was, that there's fascia around everything. And here's the other piece that's like so freaking interesting to me, is that fascia is interconnected. So everywhere in your body is connected to each other by your fascia. That is like huge. That's huge. And the one organ that all the fascia in your body is connected to is your pancreas. So if I have blood sugar issues, I now have a response in all of my fascia, don't I? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So, there's things like that that are super important to learn and to understand, And if I extrapolate, just as a little fun extrapolation, is that the major level of your vertebrae that innervates your pancreas is T9. And if I have blood sugar issues and I have all this fascia stuff going on, my T9 of my vertebrae will always go out. So I go to the chiropractor, puts my T9 in. Do you see how looking for what the core issue is? Like, I had a woman yesterday who had pain in her muscle above her knee, right? So she has this pain. And what I noticed on her was that this quad was bigger than this one, okay? That the right leg was bigger. She said, and every time she takes the stairs, she has pain in this upper 3 or 4 inches above her knee. So I'm like, okay. But the significant part was not her pain per se. It was one piece that led me to where I was going, is that the other piece is that when you're walking, you use your hip flexors, which are in the back of your abdomen, to move your legs. So my hip flexor is doing that. When my hip flexor is not working, I have to use my quad to do it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have a bigger quad leg when that's not working. So she had the bigger quad leg. I went and tested the hip flexor. The hip flexor was not working. But I tried to work her hip flexor directly and I couldn't access it. So I'm like, well, oh my goodness. So I tried a few things with moving the leg in order to make the hip flexor come up. And what it was her kidney had so much tension in it that it turned off her hip flexor, which made her use her quad to do all this walking up the stairs in her house and brought this pain pattern on. So if I'm only working on her muscle, I am working on her muscle every week. And I have to tell you is that, you know, if you guys decide to come to class and you get to know me, is one of the deals is that I would be bored with that. Every week, doing the same thing over and over and over. It wouldn't do it for me. Anyway, so. Yes.
Causing the tension in her kidney then?
Well, I just have to say that most of us have degraded kidneys, is that most of us do. So she also, for her in particular, it was really that she had 5 pregnancies and the last 2 were tough. And so I think, and one of the things with kidneys, just this is a little aside that one would learn in the kidney class, is that when you're pregnant, you are supporting your children's, the blood of the baby is going through mom's kidneys. And so I think that she doesn't have a really good constitution either. So with this sort of weaker constitution, it really overasked the kidneys. And especially for her, the right, because it's halfway under the liver. So that really asked that kidney to overwork with her children. She really, after the last child was born, she's like broken down autoimmune wise and stuff like that.
So very quickly you treat the kidney then?
Oh yeah, we were going to get there. We're going to get there, Brad.
Yeah.
We're going to get there. So, yes. So, just as another little aside, which you'll forget, well, you may not forget this, but is that when mom's kidneys can't handle the load that's going through with the babies, then what happens is it forces the child's kidneys, the baby inside, to start working. So it forces those kidneys, their kidneys, to start working. And you know, if you haven't gone on my Facebook page of the Ankrum Institute, you ought to, is that I've been doing these 1 minutes at 4 o'clock. And the one I did yesterday is about toe walking, you know, where you see little kids just walking on their toes. And I said on my 1 minute that it's kidneys. So, you know, here you have a child that's in there with a mother that's already had a slight amount of degradation in her kidneys. You know, they're not working as well. And so you end up with children that are toe walkers and stuff. That's possible. It doesn't have to be, but it's possible. So we now have musculoskeletal and fascial as some of our systems, and we don't need to hear that. This just shows you the interrelationship of the layers of fascia. That's all that picture is about, is the interrelationships. And then we have another system, and this one's called a central chain of fascias. And what this is that from the very top of my head to the very floor of my pelvis is that I have fascia that's connected in a chain, okay? But look at, this is the middle of my brain. This is the deep fascia of my throat. This is my heart, my liver, my small intestines, and then it really, what we really need in here is the top of the uterus and prostate. That goes right in here. And then the central tendon of the perineum. So what it means is that from the tippy top of my head to the bottom, to my pelvic floor, I have a connection. So think about this. If I have something going on with my heart, it is going to be pulling and affecting on everybody else. Okay? So if I have something going on in my heart and it's doing that, where's my pain pattern? Between my shoulder blades in my back, in the muscles between my shoulder blades. So this is why we're talking about like having to look and learn more deeply. Okay? Look and learn more deeply. All right. So that's another one of the things. Oh my gosh. That, you know, the chakra system actually relates to every single place that's on the central chain. I always wonder why it's there. I do it every time I do this lecture. What's this here for? Okay, just a moment. You got. Funny how the hiccup is always the same. It's in the same place. Cranial sacral system. And let me also say about the cranial sacral system is that cranial sacral is taught every module at least one of the days, if not 2 days. So all 14 modules, which I'll sort of get into the whole program a little bit later, is that every module has cranial sacral, because I believe cranial sacral is like needs to be learned. Okay? I'm a really, really strong believer that it needs to be learned. So here's another system of the body. The cranial sacral system is made up of the bones of your head, the membranes inside, your brain and spinal cord, and there is circulation of cerebrospinal fluid between two of the layers of the membranes. And these membranes are fascia. So in between two of the layers is this circulation. Now, what's the big deal? Like, why do you love cranial so much? And it's a very challenging system to learn. And I've been doing it for 31 years. And I think I teach it better than I learned it, because, you know, they're getting it in class, and it took me, I don't know, 15, 20 years to really get it. Get it. So the cranial sacral system is part of your auto-regulating system. This is it in the flesh. Now, my auto-regulating system is the system of my body that runs me. Like, your inner doctor is in there, your fight or flights are in there, your breathing is in there, my heart rate is in there, my ability to sleep is in there, my ability to digest is in there. It's in there. So this is why you see so many people have, and plus which my immune system is run by my autonomic nervous system. And this is the autonomic nervous system in like solid part of the body, okay? And it does. And when somebody has a lot of tension in this system, which you get through birth, big time, lot of stuff through birth. You can get it through hitting your head. You can get it from having stressors for a long time. You can get it from having, I think we should use that one as the example.
Great.
Don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And you can get the more tension into your cranial sacral system by hitting your head, by having a surgery, car accident, all of these different things starts amplifying within this system, okay? And what does it do? Can make it so that you can't fall asleep. Your sleep becomes dysregulated. You can have constipation, right? You can have anxiety, worry, stress, panic, shyness, don't want to be out in the world. You know, there's physical things. It increases heart rate. It increases muscle tone. you know, those people who can't seem to relax. All of these things are in this, are affected by this cranial sacral system being part of your autonomic nervous system. It'll suppress your immune system. How many people have autoimmune diseases these days? How many? So many. And how many poor children have so much anxiety? I mean, the statistics, I don't know what it is, but I've read it, on how many children are now medicated, you know, by the age of 4. I mean, it's like stunning. Stunning, stunning. So anyway, so that's why this is so important, because the other thing is that if this system has a lot of tension in it, then you are not going to be able to, you future yous, okay, me, cannot work on somebody and have an effect, because they may feel a little bit better, but what happens is that if there's so much tension in this system, they can't change. You cannot facilitate change for somebody, because if I've got my fight or flights on, there's no way my body's trusting or open enough to create a change. So this is the other thing about, like, what system is the first system I have to talk to. You know, that's the importance of having a bigger, broader scope. And so that you begin to learn and understand, oh, I need to do this first for however many sessions or whatever before they are able to let down enough to actually make a change. So that's the cranial sacral system. So we've got musculoskeletal, fascial, central chain, and cranial sacral. So now we've got 4. And that's just showing you the different bones of the cranium. That's all that is showing you that there's all these different bones. And this idea that they're fused is not true. I mean, there is a chromosomal thing that happens on, you know, 1 in 2 million or something. But no, these are not fused. And you can help to get them into sitting so that they actually have the movement pattern they should. Okay. Then we have a fluid system. So we have blood, lymphatic, and cerebrospinal fluid. So those are the majors. We also have digestive fluid, but we won't, that's not in this. These are the majors. So we have this blood, which is taking all the nutrition and waste away. We have the lymphatic, lymph fluid, which is part of our lymphatic immune system, right? And then we have this cerebrospinal fluid, which I told you circulates around the brain and spinal cord. But in osteopathy, which is one of the things that I'm trained in, I trained at a French osteopathic school up in Canada, and I graduated from them about, I don't know, 13 and a half years ago. And it was a 5-year program of me traveling up there. And so, you know, and I lost what I was going to tell you. It was so much more important to tell you about, all right? And I went every 6 weeks. No. Oh, that's what I was going to say, is that there are tenets of osteopathy. There's like 5 major tenets, and one of them is that the artery rules supreme. So in my head, I had to figure out, like, what does that really mean, that the artery rules supreme? So the big deal is that your blood is like, it's got this intelligence within it. And did you know that every experience you've had is imprinted into your fluid system? I mean, that takes it out of, oh, I've got blood pumping, into a whole, like, throughout my body is always circulating all of the everything that has ever happened to me, or the knowing in my body. And besides that, my lymphatic fluid, which is, here's the deal, is that your blood picks up from, you know, the toxicity and all of that stuff is being picked up by your blood. But your blood cannot pick up everything. So the lymphatic fluid is going to do that. So the lymphatic fluid is going to pick up the rest of the stuff that the blood can't, that's too big to go into the capillaries. And then what does it do? It goes through the lymph nodes as it moves its way up the body, and then it goes back into the blood. So my lymphatic fluid goes back into my blood, and my cerebrospinal fluid is a semi-closed system. it goes out into some of the spaces. And what does it do? It goes back into my bloodstream. So I find this really interesting, is that I haven't made a decision on this yet, and it's been a long time. But all my fluids go back into my blood. So anyway, you can have somebody that's having issues within the fluid system. It's kind of an interesting and a new concept. Okay, just showing you blood system and lymphatics, all the lymphatics. And the biggest part of where most of my lymph nodes are, we all think it's your armpits and your groin. It's actually all around your small intestines. Is that your biggest part of your lymphatic system is here because of many reasons, but one is the lion's share of the lymph nodes are in your abdominal area. Okay? And then we have the cerebrospinal fluid from the same kind of picture you just saw. Okay. So here's one that people are like, what? So we also have a pressure system. Okay? So if anybody, I don't know, I won't say this, I won't prejudice anything. If you were a hunter or did any, butchering of animals, you know that when you cut into them, they and we are too. We are pressurized. And what the deal is that we have 3 main diaphragms. Respiratory diaphragm is one, and then I have a pelvic diaphragm, and there's a diaphragm in the middle of my head. These are the 3 main. There are sub-diaphragms all over my body. My plantar fascia is a diaphragm. Did you know that? No, we just think it's thick fascia on the bottom of my foot. But it has actually several other roles, my plantar fascia, which I won't tell you. But anyway, is that you have these 3 main, and between these 3 main, what I have is certain pressure from here to here, from here to here, here to here. So I'm pressurized, right? And when my pressures are off, have you ever seen, I will say particularly men, only because they have a tendency to put weight on in this particular way, is where this gets bigger and this gets smaller. Right? You've seen that. So you absolutely have to know that the cavity here, what's happening is that this is so compressed that now I have tension on both my lung and my heart. And there's an integrity that needs to happen between all of these diaphragms and so forth. There's just an integrity there that needs to happen in each of these systems. Headaches could come because this diaphragm is having a time, headaches could be coming. So, all right, this just shows you some of the diaphragms, one in the head. Here's the respiratory and the pelvic diaphragm. These just show it to you because the diaphragms are all horizontal in the body while everything else goes up and down. All the muscles go up and down, and these go horizontally, creating pressurized cavities. Okay? And this is the last one that's in the head. This is us looking down into the head. This is that diaphragm. This is us looking at it from a side view. Here it is here. Not this piece of it, but this part of it. Here is this horseshoe shape. These are bones. Horseshoe shape inside the head. That's the one in the head. Okay. Just showing you that if this is going to be, have more pressure in it, I'm going to have tension on the heart, I'm going to have tension on the lungs. They're all nestled nicely in there, right? Just as a little interesting piece, because I think this is interesting. I love the body, so what can I say? Is that neurologically developing? Your respiratory diaphragm starts in your neck, and then what happens is it pushes down, creating a suction pressure that actually allows all of this to develop within it. But your diaphragm started here in your neck and actually came down. It's kind of interesting. And it's why diaphragms have a tendency to want to, they're trying to go home, so it's like they want to go back up and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Okay. There's just a picture of my respiratory diaphragm from the bottom, looking up from the bottom of the body and looking down from the top. This is where my lungs would be. This is where my heart would be. Okay? and then there's the pelvic diaphragm, and all those muscles and fascia create that diaphragm, okay? Okay, so we get to visceral or organ system. So this is now, I don't know what number we're on, but whatever it is, we're on an important number. Because, here's the deal, is that he's still alive, there's a French doctor who figured out, probably about 25 or 30 years ago, I would say that, 25 or 30 years ago, figured out that organs and issues in your organs were creating patterns in your pain patterns in your muscles. So are you ready for this? This is what he says. He says, and this guy is now like 80, close to 90, 80, whatever he is, 87. He says that between 65 and 90% of the pain that you feel in your muscles is coming from your organs. That is okay, so let's say he's wrong, and it's 55 to 80, okay? We can have to tell you that on the clients that I have, I am doing organs, not all day, every day, but a tremendous amount, because the organs are really, here's your kidneys right here. This is deep in your back wall of your abdomen are these kidneys right here. Here's my spleen that sits just inside here on my left rib cage here, and it's taken out the liver and the stomach and the pancreas and stuff. But here's one out of a book that I have that shows you a cadaver. Okay, so I always like to look at this one with you because it's so great. So here's my what's left of my respiratory diaphragm right here. And here's my left lung, which has 2 lobes. Here's my heart sitting here, and here's my right lung, which has actually 3 lobes. Now, on my right side, underneath the rib cage, so they cut out the rib cage as well, is that this is my liver. Okay? And really, do I have another picture of that? I don't think so either. Okay. And this is my small intestines that circle my belly button, okay? And here is my large intestine. I should be able to see this part going up. I can't. Here it is coming across like this. It dives down, and here it is coming through here, and then it goes out my bowel. Okay? So what is wrong with this person? Let's look and see what's wrong with this person. First of all, their liver is shrunken, and this is their left lobe of the liver, and here's the right lobe. Their right lobe of their liver should come to here. Look at how small that is. They have a serious problem. This left lobe of their liver is actually right size, but I should find it at the end of it here. So something happened. And here's the thing, the liver has 2 major lobes, and then it has all these sublobes. And in the sublobes, different kinds of, there's different kinds of processes that are happening. The liver has 20 different processes it does, and within each of the processes it does 2,000 within each one of the processes. It does all of these things. So your liver, all of a sudden you want to be nicer to your liver after you hear this, right? But look what happened. This is the stomach. So this is the stomach. It is so huge and distended that I should only see a stomach that actually has a shape like this, come up like this, and look like sort of like a seashell, like a seashell or something, whatever, That stomach is huge. That is inflammation terribly. The small intestines have pushed the large intestines out because all of this is bloated. This is all bloating. That's why you cannot see the large intestine here and hardly see it over there, is because this person had a lot of inflammation here and it's going on there. So we can see that the liver was not okay, the stomach is distended, and the small intestines are bloated and, enlarged. So, knowing this, what does this person have in terms of hurt-wise? So we're done one of the things on the bloating is we're definitely going to be having low back pain because your small intestine's attached to your low back. Okay? Fascially. It attaches through its fascia. Then what are we going to have? This expanded, super expanded stomach is going to give this person left shoulder and neck pain because that comes up off the left side. That's what that's going to do. This over here is, although the liver's tendency for pain patterns is the right shoulder, right neck, but that person's going to be hurting locally in all of the muscles around this whole part of them. They're going to be hurting. They're definitely going to be hurting. Now, what this also does, it has a tendency, when this kind of thing is going on the liver, it has a tendency to create your hip to rotate, my literal bone of my hip to rotate, which would give me a long leg. You see how you have to through the 2 years of this program, you begin to march slowly through. That's why you can't do this fast. You begin to march slowly through this to really get, oh, okay. So when the hip is rotated forward, I have a longer leg. Because I never know, chiropractors are like, you have a short leg. Well, do you have a short leg? Or do you have a long leg? There's the question is that what is it that you actually have? In this instance, with a liver doing this, I am absolutely sure that that person has an anterior rotation of the right hip, giving them a long leg. There's no question in my mind that that's going on, as well as local pain. And the other kind of, so we've got structurally a long leg. Structurally, we've got pain in the muscles. But what else do we have? Heightened allergies, headaches, sensitive eyes. These are all things that come from the liver. These are all patterns of things that come from your liver. Get the 65 to 90%. And that's only the liver and the small intestines we've kind of talked about in the stomach. There's just a tremendous number of things that are, when they're going on in the body, they create these patterns. So when I sit down with somebody and I take a history from them, I'm going to start putting together when they tell me, that they have headaches. And it's not related to their menses. When they tell me we're going to check all of these things, because you have to kind of put it, it's like a puzzle that you're putting all the pieces together. But learning all this does not happen quickly, okay? All right. Then we have electromagnetic field, an EMF. We have an electromagnetic field, and we are electromagnetic, guys. And one of the perfect examples of that is that your heart has AV nodes in them. Your heart has electrical nodes in them to help the contractions happen when they're supposed to happen. So you have an EMF field. One of the things that is going on these days is the fact that we are so affected by the 4G and 5G and all the GGs, all of this. I shouldn't kid about it because it is bad. It is bad. When they rolled out 5G, it's like, all the health practitioners from a complementary standpoint, we're all like, woo! We're all protected in here. I've got you protected. Once you go out that door, you're on your own. Christy probably has something, but the rest of us, is that I wear something on my body to protect me because the big things that it does. How many people have you been hearing about in the last 5 years who have heart dysregulation? Like a lot. Who's got arrhythmias, who has bradycardia, tachycardia, these things. And that's what's happening is that these outside EMF forces are really, really wreaking havoc with us. But the worst thing is more than even the heart thing, is the fact that the EMFs in our bodies create calcium ions, and we are not supposed to be having these calcium ions and they're free, like free radical calcium ions. And what they're doing is they're breaking into cells and into cell walls, which is the rate. When they said 5G came out, we can expect in the next 5 to 10 years that 1 in 3 people, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men will have some kind of cancer, because that's what it does. It promotes cell degradation. There's degrading of the cells, which is bad enough in a lot of ways, but this degrading of the cells actually creates this opportunity for the cancer to grow. So, EMF. So,
What's your protection? That's what I was going to ask.
well, I've got something, see the purple thing plugged into the wall back behind Jillian? Can you see that? That is protecting all of us while we're in here. I bought that actually from England. I had it sent. And so once it's plugged in, we've got a 40-meter thing protection. If it's not plugged in, you're protected for 4 meters if you hold it on your person. And then I have something that I wear. Do you wear something?
I don't. I have stuff on my phone and then
Right.
where we live.
Right. Well, I have my phone is in a case that doesn't let any of the stuff actually get me.
RFID, correct? Is that right?
Yeah. But that's more. RFID is keeping somebody from getting your credit cards. You know what I mean? But there's different companies. I have Defender Shield. There's something called Geo Wellness that has protection. Then there's EarthCom that has protection. And then there's a couple of others new that if you just look up EMF protection. So and I wear, I'm sorry, I keep hitting this thing. I wear something, like there's a lot of pendants, there's some bracelets. If you're into crystals or anything like that, shungite can protect you. Wearing shungite as a necklace or as a bracelet. So there are things to do, and everybody should be doing them because they're talking about rolling out 6G. Too. So it's like, whoa! And oftentimes when working on somebody, especially when I'm doing cranial sacral, is I can feel the vibration, like the buzzing, come out of their body as the extra EMFs are leaving, Yes.
Do you have a certain number of EMFs?
So we have a current in our body. We have a current.
Outside current disrupts that.
Oh, big time.
Okay. That's what you're
Big time. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, big time. And then we have the morphogenic field, which is the collective consciousness. It both circles the earth and we can access it all as a collective frequency, But I also want to say that another part of the systems is how well has the client's family system, what's the support they have in their life, how well are they doing outside, and you can also have nutritional pieces that are really affecting them that you're trying to work on. I have a woman who, I love her, but she comes in and she is always inflamed, and so that makes her hurt in her back and her joints, because that's the thing I didn't say, is that with a lot of inflammation and especially stuff in the liver, your joints hurt. The joints really hurt. So, but because, it's like trying to swim upstream a lot of times. So, anyway, don't want that one. So, thank you, Jillian. So anyway, so far, does anybody have any questions? Nope.
Yes, a lot of questions.
A lot of questions and a lot of thoughts. Yeah, Brad.
Just, I guess, a general question. Maybe you said this a couple minutes before I got here, but the overall purpose of your program with the patient is just to find the source of the pain and then obviously mitigate it or alleviate it? Is that the overall objective?
Well, the overall objective is to help somebody back to health. I would say it that way. That's the overall objective, because if coming back to health might be that the person feels supported for the first time and they still have their pain pattern, but that they feel supported. But yes, we say that it's always looking for the core issue and then helping to resolve that, but it's, first of all, a person may have more than one core issue, driving, whatever's happening. And I always like to say, it's like, how can I help you back to health? I mean, because that's what it's really about. And one of the things is we never really lose our health. It just gets buried under all the stuff we're carrying. And how can I help you in whatever way your body asks to facilitate that to come up? So that is what we're really doing. Did that answer the question?
It did, but then it led to like a whole bunch of other
Have another.
So stuff, how much
That do we do?
do you do, or, yeah, how much?
Not much, because that's not the focus within the school, is that the school, because here's the thing. So I didn't say, I will say this, is that, let me say it this way, is that my school, although it teaches you techniques for every single thing in your body, I'm talking about everything in your body. There are techniques for everything, okay? But I am not a technique-driven school. I am a principle-driven school. I am about, let me teach you the principles of how a body works, and you can apply that in any, you know what I mean? That's that old saying, you know, feed a man a fish and he eats for a night, teach a man to fish and he, you know, can eat for his lifetime. Is that, so my thing is that there are principles, and we start that way on the first day, as you start learning the principles of how the body works. Then we spend the next 2 years learning to apply them and get reminded of them, and learning to apply them for the next couple of years. So there is that. So one of the principles is that, and it's a biggie, I mean it's a biggie, is that the body is organized. Your musculoskeletal system is organized, your fascial system is organized, your cerebrospinal, your cranial sacral system, everything is organized. And one of the things that happens is when I get off of my organizing factors is that's when it brings on more pain. So part of the deal is that once I'm more organized, the stretching and the exercising, you get to do what you want to do. But most people are exercising and stretching with a body that's not organized. And so what happens is it actually creates more problems. So I do not teach diet and stuff like that in here. That's not, I mean, there's so much in this 2 years and 2 months that this program is that if somebody wants to do nutrition, more power to you. I mean, but one of the things you learn I've been with people so long, is that you learn pieces of nutrition, and if you want to study some of it, I mean, I just studied a whole thing on cancer and cell health and this whole thing, but that would, you know, it kind of interested me. But I'm not a real big one to send my clients out like you have to do these exercises. I'm really out there going, so you want to just be calm and actually not do something? You know, I'm in the more category that is that how can we find a place to actually get quiet and quiet down and help your client to find those. They don't need any help finding an exercise. They need help finding that more calm, still place within them so that health and healing can find a place in, you know. That's my thing. That is my thing. So, did that bring up 14 more questions? Sounds like it. So anyway, yeah, right. So the important thing that I just said is that the school is actually not it's a place that actually gives you a foundation of principles about really knowing how this body works. Like, how does this really, really work? And then we actually learn different modalities. We learned that because we learn an umbrella of modalities in order to treat what it is that we find. And one of the other big principles that I work under and that I teach is that the treatment plan is in that body. It's not in my head. So I have this big toolbox of techniques, and I have this whole knowing that the liver would give them headaches, right? And then what happens is that they come in and they give me their history or whatever, or check in with them, and then the body I put my hands on, and also the body will begin to tell you. Now, some of it is a piece of intuition, and some of it is putting together the puzzle pieces, and some of it what you're feeling. So it's how all that comes together, but that's a learned piece over the time. You know, it's 2 years and 2 months is the program. So, you know, it's learned over the time. That's what happens, is to learn this depth of this kind of knowledge and this kind of thing. It doesn't happen quickly. It just doesn't. Even though I've had, oh my God, in the last 3 weeks, I've had everybody who wants to do this in 6 months. I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, you've had me talking to you for almost an hour, and you feel like, what? It's like, 4 days every other month. It's 4 days every other month. It's always Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so it's always the same days. And then we've got handouts of what the dates would be for the next one. If we have enough students, then we'll start one in October, the third week of October. And then if not, then we'll wait until January if we don't have enough students. But it's a big program with a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth to this program, and that's not an easy. It's not easy, but it's so. I mean, Jillian and I are so excited. It's such an exciting thing because also there's no other school like this. There's no other school that includes all the parts that this includes, and we have a lot of support. There's a tremendous amount of support, so I'll just sort of give you the heads up on that, is that each class has its own private Facebook page that you can either ask questions of us and, back and forth. And do you do the links on that Facebook page, or are you doing the links when you send them the emails? Both. So each of the classes, every one of my lectures is filmed, and every demo is filmed. Not with this. We have a camera, and it's all filmed. And that goes. You have the link both through the Facebook page and also through email. And it's, go ahead, Jillian.
And it's a Google Drive. So you have before class, a week before class, you get all of the slides that she's going to teach off of, and then all of the treatments as well. And so you have that about a week before class. And then after the videos are all done, usually that same week, they're all labeled too, and then you have lifetime access to those videos to go back through. And those videos all include her lectures, but they also include talking through each treatment and then actually watching her or one of our TAs perform the treatment on somebody too. So you have access to that the whole time, and that's been invaluable to me to go back and be like, how do I fix that? How do I help with the SI joint? How do I do this one thing again that I know, and just watch that video, and then it helps for ongoing learning and integration of what you've learned as well. And just so you guys know, I just started with the organs portion of things.
Jillian is my administrative assistant as well for the school, as well as she's a student in the class, and she just,
I'll tell you, and one of the things that I think is so neat is that we start structurally. We start with the principles the first time, and actually come away with a treatment where you can start practicing on people in a way to organize the body, and that's an amazing treatment that you keep using forever and ever and ever. But then you start from the very bottom of your feet, your feet, your legs, then you start moving up structurally, and then from there you start going internally in terms of organs too. And it's just, so we just had stomach, pancreas, small intestine, large intestine, pancreas,
esophagus,
all of that, which is amazing to do the next step, and then
they were
and kidneys and heart,
and all the rest of that stuff.
All the rest of the good stuff. So.
All the rest of that stuff, So there's that kind of support. There's also, we'll answer any questions if you were to have questions that you either email or put on Facebook. And we also have like once a month we do, I don't do it, but some of the assistants do. They've done where you come and there's a practice session at night. So you can be any level and ask any questions and come in and practice with them, which has been great for students. And then we have a once every other month and a half, we have a student clinic that is part of, that everybody has to do the student clinic a couple of times. I'm there, I'm not at the practice session, but I am at the student clinic helping each and every one of the practitioners when they're working with clients. So I am there helping you sort of apply what you know and do it and whatever. So anyway, that's part. So So I said the class is 4 days every other month, and it starts at 8:30 and we end at 4. We usually have an hour and 15 for lunch in there for everybody. We have all sorts of things, refrigerators, microwaves, people go out, people bring lunches, whatever, you know, that part doesn't matter. And so approximately, so by the time you've done the 14 modules, then what is left in hours that need to be made up for the 500 hours is that between each class in the 2 months, you need to work on 5 people. You need to practice at least. Let me tell you something. If you practice 20 times, you're going to be that much better than if you just do the 5. But we're asking for 5 between each, and there's a little teeny paper that we sort of give you access to that you just have your person set, you know, kind of fill out. It's like, you know, 1 through 5, do you like them, whatever. And you need 65 of those. So you need, by the time the 2 years, 2 months is over, you need one needs 65 of those as well. And then, you know, we include things like the business and ethics that everybody needs, because when you graduate with your 500 hours and you take an MBLEX, that's the test that is to take, that has nothing to do with us. The MBLEX has nothing to do with us. We just provide your transcripts. And then you can get your license. Excuse me. So, what was I just going to say? I was going to say something else about that. Within the school, so you have to have business and ethics, and that's a part of the last module of the training. We give you a morning of business and ethics. The other kind of very fun stuff that happens in this, and it's about to happen in September, is that I bring in an embryologist who teaches embryology for 2 days to the students, which is just so interesting. Oh my God, how all the every time I sit, I learn something new, you know, like I really super learned something new. And the last time I heard something I don't know if she ever said it before. Anyway, so we bring her in from Portland, and Dr. Rose, and she teaches that for 2 days. And then we also have a pregnancy day and a pediatric day, so that's all part of that. And then we also have one morning that really teaches what trauma is all about, like what it's really about, because you can't work with people and not have somebody at some point in time go into their trauma. You know what I mean? And that is like, it, you know, freaks people out, you know, when that happens. And so I do a morning trauma lecture that is quite, you know, just in depth enough that lets you understand all sorts of things about trauma. You know, I mean, I had a guy come in to me, this is years ago, and he came to me, I think he was like 22 or 23. The guy could not leave his house, hardly. I was amazed he got to my office, and I didn't know that this was going on for him when he made his appointment with me. I'd never met him before. And anyway, as soon as I started working on him, his whole body went into the shakes and all the thrashings and stuff that is part of trauma. Well, it's a good thing I knew what it was, because I said to him, okay, I put a blanket on him and I sat down next to him. You know, in that case, I wanted to stop treating. I didn't want to keep treating. And I was there for him. He shook for 2 hours. But the important part of the story is he said to me, is that he had been like having acupuncture or something, and he started to do this, and the acupuncturist shut it down. The acupuncturist got scared, didn't know what it was, and didn't let this guy actually go through this. Well, I just moved him off my massage. Actually, I went and got my lunch and sat and ate my lunch next to him because I had clients all day. And
That's kind of what you do.
yeah. You let him do it, and I'm right here, you know, you're right there. And then I actually just moved him to my couch in the other, because I used to treat out of my house. So I moved him to my couch, and I said, you call me, I can hear you if you need anything. And so this is a guy that could not leave his house. They could only do guitar lessons with somebody coming to his house. He went like 2 months later, he got on a plane and flew to Europe, and he had a music tour that he did in Europe. And then he's married, he has children. I mean, I have goosebumps, he's awesome. He's awesome. But this is the thing, is that you also learn about, trauma and things like that within this training, because if I feel like I would be negligent if I didn't, because that's what's, and plus which the trauma layer is like risen so high for everybody. So, did I cover everything?
One of the things that I think is important too about this training is that you, not only are you learning to do these techniques, but you're practicing on each other. And so there's a huge transformation that happens within you as well, because you do sometimes access some of that trauma or different things that are so. Lee often says that you meet yourself in the
treatment room.
You
That
meet
goes
yourself
along
in the
with my
training.
question. I would imagine that your own personal
Oh, yeah.
body organization has a lot to do with
Oh,
how
yes.
you're able to treat somebody else.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because in any kind of therapy, whether it's this body therapy, although this is not, these kind of concepts are not taught within, regular massage therapy and stuff, is that, as Jillian said, I teach you that you meet yourself in the treatment room, both from the standpoint of what I'm being mirrored, like I have a client who comes in and somehow they just piss me off. So it's like, it's like being aware of, okay, so I have this reaction to this person or this kind of person. So those kinds of things happen all the time. But am I being oblivious to it and, going ahead and arguing with the client or whatever? But also, you're getting your own body work every 2 months, and there's something about getting body work in the collective. When everybody's trading, it is so much more potent because the collective energy makes a potency that's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's just amazing. Jillian's class is having them all over the place. It's like, wow, it's been great. But the other thing is, that's absolutely true, is that you begin to learn about yourself. You begin to learn about, how you come to this. One of the very first things we do in Cranial is we do a whole exercise in that you start to understand some of your own energy stuff. It's very, very interesting. So yeah, your stuff comes up, definitely.
You're in your class.
There are 7.
Okay.
in
There's
the
7,
class.
right.
There are 16 in group 5, which is the class right behind us.
That's a large class.
It's a large class.
Yeah. Well, my first class started with 16 people and graduated 15. And my second class started 13 and graduated 6. And then the class before Jillian started with 14 and graduated 6. And now they started 14 and she's 7. And then group 5, which is, they'll be in their 5th module, they started 17 and they're 16. So it's a training that has so much depth and so much to it. So it's so funny. Jillian and I just went the other day, and we were talking to some marketing people, which I've not done in the school before. And so we're talking, well, not really. We were talking to this marketing person, and this person said, she tells us this story about the 3 of them who were interviewing us, and that the 3 of them went to a small school in Okmulgee for marketing, and that the classes were small, like we like to have ours, somewhere between 16 and 20 people would be ideal. And she said, what they told us is that this is not easy, and half of you are not going to make it. Right? So before I was going, the attrition rate, and then I'm in this place that says, who is that's ready for this? Because it is a potent work. It is awesome, though. It is awesome. The changes and the things that can happen are awesome. Anyway, so I love it. I do.
You mentioned the fluid. Hold on, let me go back.
Okay.
So every experience you've ever had is imprinted into your fluid
Mm-hmm.
system. So are those reconciled if they're traumatic experiences? Or if they're, I guess I'm just trying to understand.
Well, it does. Your body will integrate it, because anything that's a trauma, and I won't get into the whole trauma lecture, but anything that is a trauma, there's as my friend always says, there's little t trauma and big T trauma. And big T trauma puts a whamp into you. Little t trauma resolves itself, or it's emotional, which emotion is not big T trauma. It's not going in like that. There's a whole physiological change that happens when something like a big trauma comes in. And we've all had them. So it's just how much have we got and how much is it debilitating our body. But what happens is, like the guy shaking on the table, he integrated his trauma. So that's going to integrate for sure in the blood. It's going to change that.
The body keeps the score.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. So the cost of the training, is this, is that there is a deposit before the training starts of $1,400. So that was, I decided that because it was like $100 a module. $1,400, and then when the training starts, each module is $700 every other month. So it's $700 every other month. And if somebody were to decide to want to pay the whole thing off before they started, we give you 10% off. So the entire training of the 2 years and 2 months is $11,200. I always do this because I have to do this. Because I have to. There is a massage program here in Tulsa that gives you a very, very basic massage for a 500-hour program, and they charge $16,000 for their program. So I'm a bargain. Look at that sale. I'm on sale.
Broader in
Oh,
and
this is,
the ability to actually
this
affect
is,
change.
yes.
for people.
Apples to
Jillian,
oranges.
can I ask you, what's your long-term goal? Like, you finish the training, you're certified?
I want to practice this, yes, I will have my own business and practice this on people. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And trust me when I say is that there's a lot of people out there hurting. And so, one of my graduates was like, oh, I hope she's not graduating too many people. She told this to one of my assistants, one of my main, I have a main other teacher with me. And she said, so this person said to Shannon, oh, I hope she's not graduating too many more because, then, we won't have clients and stuff. I went, oh my God, do you know that in the 34 years, and I've been busy for hard on busy for 32 and a half of them. There is plenty of hurting people for everybody. Intention, but it's what your intention is. You could have the intention that you're going to do it for your family. You could have the intention, I've had people just want the information, but there's also people who want to start a practice, and many of them have. You can make money at this. It's all about you, It's all about you. What you put in is what you get out. Do you know what I mean? And that's with anything. It isn't just with this school. Whatever you put in, that's what you get out.
And so that our graduates are typically charging $125 an hour.
Right, when they graduate.
When they graduate.
Right.
To practice.
What are the legal, as far as,
That's what I was going to ask.
yeah.
as well.
So the legal thing is you got to have the license. Right? For the all the practicing that you're going to be doing, you're under the umbrella of the school in practice, and supposedly you're not supposed to charge. Although many of the people that I have in school are oftentimes massage therapists already, and this is information that they're not getting. But anyway, and the other legal thing is that you join, and when you're a student, we have the AMTA, which is the American Massage Therapy Association, covers you guys with their deal, and it gives you an insurance. And then when you graduate, you get your own insurance, either through the AMTA or there's other organizations. There's an international massage therapy something, and they, for your yearly fee, which is I don't know what it is, it's $125 or whatever it is that gives you the ability to practice and have a liability insurance.
Do you go into detail about the business side of it?
Absolutely, but it's in the last module, and we have business. You get a business and ethics. You get both, and a little start of a prep talk for the test, like what kinds of things would be on the test. And Shannon, who assists everything, thank God for Shannon, is that Shannon also goes, and this would be on the test. She kind of gives you a little thingamabob like that. Yes.
This
So
test is what?
it's called an MBLEX, but you don't need to know that until until you're like done, you know, till you're close to being done. Yeah. Yeah, Brad.
Is the license allow you to practice in any state? And when you say
Here's the deal,
10
is
CDUs you need every year?
so here's the deal, is that my 500-hour school allows you to take the NBLEX test, and with those two things, you could go get a license anywhere. With those two things, if you decide you want to move to Colorado, as long as you have a 500-hour school certificate and you've taken the NBLEX test, which is national, it's a national test, then you can go anywhere and you go in and however they license. Tulsa used to license through the city. It now licenses through the state. Okay, so there's a state license for us, and so it includes anyway like that. So
Massage therapy license?
yes, you would be under a massage therapy license, and no matter where you went, you could have a license like that.
So you don't market yourself as a massage therapist?
I do not. I market myself as a body worker because there is no category for what it is that I do. And you'll find it, if you decide to come to class, you'll go, how do I explain this? And it's like, how do I explain that I'm going to help you with the real part, the real deal issues, you know? Right. I mean, when I post all this stuff on Facebook, they're always asking me, like I did get a comment yesterday about, well, how do you fix your kidneys? I'm like, you know, and I do never post how to do the actual treatments and techniques. I never talk about that because it's not dangerous to do them. It would be funky kind of dangerous for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to do them, you know? So, yeah.
So what happens if like life gets in the way of one of the days of the 4? Like
Okay.
if Saturday a kid gets sick or you get sick?
Closet and come anyway. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Benadryl?
Benadryl and, yeah. I encourage people not to miss, okay, because the thing keeps building. And trust me, we're just going to keep on going. You know, we just keep on going. But the other part is that if you have to miss a day, you know, you always have the videos. So I have to tell you that, is that you've got the videos, that if it's only one day within the module, and then you can go back and you can do it in the next module if it's, you know, if you didn't feel like you got it out of the videos.
Practicing.
Yeah, the practicing. And you could always come to the practice session and say, hey, I missed this day, this one day. But if you have to miss a module, which once again, we really recommend that you don't do that, because seriously, when Jillian said that by the second module, we're doing feet, legs, ankle, you know, and then we start in the pelvis on the third module, and we have 2 modules on the pelvis, and then we go into the lumbars, and then we go into the thoracics, so it's actually just really building on it. But if you have to miss a module, please let us know early. What we do have is everybody pay for the module, and then you do it with the class after you. That's what happens.
So I was sick in February and I missed the thoracic module, so I'm going to take it with this next class. I'm gonna
Right.
come back so that I actually have, because it's so important to have the
Hands-on.
piece of it and really learn it, feel it in your own body, but also feel it on others too.
Right.
So I do have the videos and I've looked at the videos, but it's not
Near.
That's why we don't do our
Right.
teaching. Whitley doesn't do the class virtually.
Right.
There's no way to get the depth and breadth
Right.
of what we do.
That's why people have asked me in other states, in California and New Mexico, and I've had people actually in Australia. They've asked me, will I teach on Zoom, and I just won't. I just won't do it, because I believe that you need to have the hands-on help, and you need to hear it. You need to be in relationship. You need to be with your person on the table. You know, that whole piece. I am not a big one for that. You know, so that is not something. So you just miss that module and you do it with the next one. So yes, and you do have access to it, like Jillian saying, is you'll have access to it, but then, you know, there is that. Any other questions or anything? Oh, we do all sorts of fun things like body read. We work on TMJ. We work on ear infections for children. We work with children so that they don't have to have braces. We do all sorts of things here. I mean, that is not, that when I say that we're working towards, I had a client who came in and said, they want to put me in glasses, they want to put her in trifocals, progressive trifocals. And so I worked on her and worked on her eyes. And I worked on her eyes in such a way is that when she came back the next time, she paid me a tip of what it is I charge, and she gave me that extra and said, I don't even have to wear glasses now. So I'm telling you guys, the possibility to help someone in ways that you would never have even thought is there. It's there, it's exciting. And I will say this, I tend not to, but this is the only training like this in the world. There isn't another one like this. There isn't another one I went to 5 years, and trust me, every 6 weeks I went up to Vancouver for 5 years doing osteopathy, and they aren't like this. And I also did not have the support that this training really has. It's personal to me, it's personal to Jillian, and really there's a lot, and even Shannon is just, she's in, man, she's in. So it's really great. So anyway, any other questions, thoughts? Yes?
Do you share openly with the connections that you've formed in the 34 years, for different certifications and with different people beyond the scope of what you do?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Like homeopathic type
Oh, right.
stuff.
Oh, yes.
Beyond,
even
more encompassing of what
Oh,
you
yes.
do.
Oh, yes. Do I refer people to
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Because if somebody is having stuff go on, we're on the body side. We're on the literal structural body side. And I have relationships with a few of, different naturopaths. I actually have had relationships with more of them in the Tulsa area, but now I'm sort of there. And so yes, I do it all the time. And psychotherapy.
Yes.
And psychotherapy. I definitely send people to therapists for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Your pain body and your emotional body
Oh,
are
yeah.
connected, and you're going to end up with so much of that
Yes.
on the table.
Well, what ends up happening is it inhibits the ability of the person to get better. They get better to a certain place, and then you can really, feel it that they can't get past that, and so therefore, that whole psycho-emotional, thing. And I come to trauma through cranial sacral. That's how I meet trauma and start working with it. But you can also, I send people to neurofeedback. I send people to transgenerational work, because I don't have that in my list, but I send people, we have somebody who comes and does transgenerational work here once every couple months. She uses my space for doing it. And I send people to that, so I don't, in my mind, this is, because here's the question, where's the core issue? So the core issue may not be in my 9 systems, but it might be in some other piece. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But I have a tendency to also be, I don't know, opinionated is not the right word, or maybe it is the right word. Maybe it is the right word. So, a thing about who I send people to, and I have to know that there's a lot of integrity and that they really know what they're doing and stuff. So, but yes, I do that. Yeah.
Two separate questions. One, continuing CEUs, is that something we do on our own, or do you offer continuing?
So for, of course, while you're in school, you get this 500-hour daily bop, but we are actually having a guy come from, He's coming from the East Coast, and he's a PT, and he is teaching voice and swallowing issues for a weekend here in October. So the students that are, you can be a student or a graduate taking this class, and the graduates are all getting CEUs for sure. But as long as you're in school, I mean, and you're not licensed, you don't need continuing education credits until when you're done and stuff like that. And then there's definitely stuff to do. There's even stuff online. And so, you know.
And then this year we actually had hosted two. One was a lower extremity.
Right,
lower leg
workshop.
And then we're having a shoulder girdle workshop too. And basically, what it would end up being is review of what you learned in the shoulder.
But you'd get the CEUs. But I have a feeling that sometime in the future is that I'm going to be tasked with doing some advanced classes, and that'll be there and stuff. What you need yearly in your CEU thing is 5 hours to keep your license. That's it. So that's why we've done 2 one-dayers that have 6 hours in each of the days, because that covers your 5 hours. So you just need 5 hours. And what I did was I put 10 and got my license for another 2 years. So it's not a huge deal, you know, not huge. And even you can do an online course for a day, and that'll cover you besides what we do. Yeah.
And then the average patient, I know every patient is different, but they see you 1 time, 2 times. What's the average number?
Okay. The treatment plan is in the body. So you've had your history and I've had mine, and both of us come in with a headache. Okay? Both of us come in with a headache that's like in this part of our head. Now I've got my history and you've got yours, right? Which means that when I go to approach this person's body and system, what it means is that, you know, you cannot say, is your system going to let me in? Is my system going to let you in? Do I have to do a couple of sessions just to kind of go, hi, you want to let me in a little bit here? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I tell people. I tell people I can never tell you how many sessions this is going to take. I tell them that. I never can tell you how many sessions this is going to take.
It's not a technique.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not a technique. And here's the thing, is that I don't teach A plus B equals C. What I do is I teach you these 10 techniques for the liver. And you put your hands on the respiratory diaphragm, because that's one of the early things we learn is how to work it. Put your hands on the respiratory diaphragm, and it's hard on the right-hand side. That tells you, because you're going to know anatomy, is that, oh, that's the liver over there. So now you're like, okay, I'm going to hold your liver. Which one of the techniques do I need to do? You know what I mean? It's like the body starts to take you through. So you have a headache. I put my hands on you, but it tells me that your heart is so tense, or your pelvis is so tense, that there's no way I'd be able to work your head until I free that down there. And that might take several sessions.
Do you take insurance, or everybody just pays out of pocket?
Well, they've been paying me for 32 and a half years out of their pocket.
We would much rather pay insurance. It's difficult, but when your child needs it, you're like, okay, I'll pay it.
Right.
When we came to you,
Right.
She needed it, and I was like,
But you get
I
to
don't know what
decide.
else to do.
You get to decide how you
But
want to
you
run your
can-
business.
Right.
I mean, if you don't-
Well, you can't take insurance. I mean, with a massage therapy license, you cannot take insurance. That's it. You know, that's it. You don't even have that option. You do not have that option. What it is if a doctor has actually written a script for somebody to come to see you, then they pay you and you give them a good receipt, which we have some, you know, we have a way we do that, and then they can possibly be reimbursed or a percentage, you know. That's the way it has to operate. But massage therapy, there's only one state that actually has massage therapists are on the insurance thing, and that's Florida. Because they had a lobby that lobbied that in Florida. Like they rose up, the massage therapy community rose up and went, and that's the only place that massage therapists are in insurance. But no, here's the deal. If you haven't been helped by a doctor, and you haven't been helped by a doctor, and you haven't been helped by a doctor, and then somebody says, you know, there's this lady over there, this kind of crazy lady over there, you go. You go. But I only see people once a month. I have a belief, unless somebody's pretty cute, isn't that true, Christy? And it's tough to get into me. It's very tough to get into me, but I see people once a month because I believe that what you have set in motion is the healing process, and that if I see you too quickly, like PTs and chiropractors want to see you multiple times even within a week, and what I do is I make the body dependent on me, and what our thing is how can I help you back to health and give you that hand to back to health if I'm the one that you're now leaning on for you to feel better. It's like you set it in motion and then you give it a little time. And you know, some of my assistants, but you know, the ones that have graduated and stuff sometimes see people every other week. They do stuff like that. I'm just still in my staunch once a month with people, unless somebody's super acute, and that's pretty tough for me anyway. But
Well, and when the body gets organized again, the health
starts
starts
rising.
its work. You're helping facilitate that health. We're not fixing.
No.
We're helping to facilitate.
You're also
that
giving people power.
The
I mean,
power.
That is right. That is so right, Brandy. That is so right. You know, it really, and when anybody says, you know, the fixing thing, it drives me insane. I hate that word because we aren't fixing anybody. All we're doing is helping you unlock your health. That's what we're doing, is that how do we do that? We are unlocking the health through whatever system, in whatever way we need to actually do that, you know? And sometimes the health is sitting next to a body while it's shaking. That's sometimes the health, you know? So.
We'd all do well to learn that.
Oh, I know. That and listening skills. That's another thing we talk about in the training. How, you know, like how do you listen and stuff. We also body read each other. I mean, we do all sorts of stuff in the training. It's rather fun. It's rather fun. It's very diverse and fun. And
I'm also a weirdo about all this stuff. So.
yeah, it's like, yeah. Well,
And tell me more.
yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Lee, do you have like LMT after your name or anything like that?
I do. I have a cranial sacral, I have an NMT, which is neuromuscular massage therapy, I have a whatever. But you know, it is, so yes, and so do the graduates have those after their name. And you would have an LMT, and you could, you know, after your name as well.
How do you get the cranial sacral after your name?
You could put it after you graduate, because you'll be having plenty of cranial sacral.
I didn't know if that
You can have cranial. You're going to have the full contingent. I mean, in cranial sacral, we go so far into the cranial sacral. By the time you're done, you're working on concussions. You're working on the hypothalamus, the pituitary. You're working on all the pineal gland. What?
Lobes of the brain.
Lobes of the brain.
Ventricles,
You know, inside the brain. You're inside the brain by the end.
nerve work at all?
Well, you're going to do nerve work by actually connecting to that whole system, but not nerve work like those guys who do that. They strum across the nerves, which is like, no.
So what are some of your graduates doing now?
Working.
I mean,
Seeing
like,
clients.
What capacity? Just on their own, or are they working?
I have one who works with me, and I have several, like most of the rest, all the rest of them are working on their own. They have their own practices. Although I got contacted not just shortly ago. Occasionally somebody contacts me, whether it's a chiropractic office or something like that. We have not put it out there that, do you want to hire our graduates? We have not done that, but they'll contact me to see if, you know, we have somebody that could work with them. So I just had a psychotherapist contacted me about that. And I said, well, we haven't got anybody ready now, because here's the deal. The difference is because all the people that work for themselves, well, I have one student who works 2 days for me. She's a graduate. 2 days for me, and then she works 2 or 3 days for herself, and she charges $125, and so she gets a percentage of it with me, and I actually give a much higher percentage, because if you work for anybody else, you're making like $30 or $35 or something like that, as opposed to your own, you know.
Is this something you can do out of your home?
Obviously. Hello? Brandy knows me a long time. So,
Now I was like,
oh, Brandy, hello. But the thing about, and so you have to have a space that's like separate and quiet, you know.
can you go into somebody else's home?
You can.
Okay.
Once you have your license, absolutely. It's a pain in the patootie, but you go, girl. Then you charge more. Here's the thing, as you go to their house, you charge more. You have to do that, because that takes your 15 minutes on either side of that. Yeah.
Well, especially now, a lot of people don't want to go.
Go anywhere, yeah. They'll come here. They come here, so. Did you have a question or something you want to say?
No.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I can imagine that because of the fix me attitude
Yes.
that people have, and when you're saying, I'm going to see you once a month,
Mm-hmm.
that there's some angst that you encounter with people needing, like, I'm still in pain, you need to fix this for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you cover problem-solving techniques that you've utilized and found that works when you interact with people, or do you just tell them up front it's once a month and that's it?
Oh, well, you know, yes to both of what you're saying. So yes, people, I do say I see people once a month, and, you know, I make your first 2 appointments for you, and then people have to call in on the first of the month to get in for the following month. So September 1st, they'll call for October.
Okay.
October 1st. This is me and mine.
Okay.
Okay? But the other thing is, I'm gifted by having Brandy work with me, because if I need to, I can schedule somebody with Brandy. So she can see somebody in 2 weeks. I can't.
Okay.
I can't. So she can. Right. But I'm a huge believer, and I tell people this, is that if you communicate with people, so what you can say is that, so we've treated this. It doesn't mean it's gone. But what it does mean is that we're on the road to making this better. So the more I tell you that kind of stuff, or that this could get more intense, okay? Like, it could be more intense, but I don't want you to freak out. You can call me, but while we're going through it, you're etching through, and things are having to, you know, things have to be risen up, some things. Some things just come off like the cream. But other things like have to rise. And when that happens is you can feel it more. You know, I had somebody who came to me. She came up from Dallas to see me. And I was like, you are flying back this afternoon? You know, she was like leaving here, going to the airport and flying back. And I go, I'm like, this is so not a wise decision here. So, and I told her that. I didn't know that was how they set it up, okay? Anyway, so I treated her. And then I just saw her for the second time a couple weeks ago. But what I did hear also was she could not get on that plane because she went into trauma. First time I saw her, she, boom, zoop, and there she was in her trauma and all of that stuff. So anyway, good thing she has a friend here, because she went to the friend's house and chilled out and then went home on a later flight. And then what she told me the next time she came in, so I had said to her, you could feel really poorly or feel stuff, and I said, but trust me when I say is on the other side of this you'll be feeling so much better. So she told me when she came the second time, and she said, oh my gosh, I was so sick for like 5 days. And then she said, and then on the 6th day, I have not felt like this, I don't think, in my entire life. She felt so good. She was like so past something. Do you know what I mean? But so she was actually, on her next appointment, she was staying until the next day. I said, oh, very smart, you know. But yeah, but it's all about communication. You know what I mean? Just like in the number of sessions, because people want to know that. you know, how many sessions, and then those kinds of things, is that once you let them know that there's no absolute, and that won't we know better if I treat you today and then I see you in a month or 3 weeks and I treat you again, when I come to that, I'll know how well your body actually lets things go. I mean, I can't tell you how well you're going to let something go. So, plus which, anybody that says to me, how many sessions is this going to take and how much is it, those are their first 2 questions, then I'm like, I might not be the person for you. Because that is, I have to tell you is that it's a spiritual practice for me. Seeing all the clients is a spiritual piece for me. And one of the things is that with each and every client, I am making the connection that I'm a bit chameleon. I'm making the connection with them that needs to get made, and also how often have you had somebody, I did this the other day with Jillian, it was like, how have you had somebody who's interested in you and spending the time with you that's really there for you, even though it's our hour and I'm spending that time with you. But in regular medicine, I swear to you, like, they're not hardly paying any attention. There are a few good doctors, but most of the time they're not. They're not really listening to you. They think they know it all. I don't know shit, man. I know that your body knows. That's what I know. Okay, I do know a lot. Know about you and what would be the right thing for you. So I always come as an open whatever and then ask a few questions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Have you worked with like neuropathy or Parkinson's and that?
I have, but you know the problem with that is I have worked with that, and I have a tendency to send those people to my frequency naturopath. So somebody who's working in frequency medicine for that. And the other thing is that I have worked, but if somebody, say with Parkinson's, one of the big things with Parkinson's also is how, you know, I know this sounds crazy, but how much gluten are they having and wheat? Because it is really been proven to super excite the nervous system in the brain and the nervous system, and it really degrades Parkinson's. So, you know, here's the thing is, I might be doing this, but you're not doing, if you're doing things that don't support that. But those kinds of things with those big kind of autoimmune things, I definitely send them to the naturopaths. I definitely go there. Yeah, we know 2 good frequent. Christy and I know one, and I have a couple of ones that read through frequency what's going on in the body. So, yeah.
So your class, you said your next class will start December unless you don't have enough. And then
No, October.
Unless we don't have enough, and then it will start January.
January, right. So I'll put out on here what the, third weekend. So we have all these people that have said they're going to take the class, but we have yet to have one single person sign up. So we'll see.
how often are they? Because my availability wouldn't be until probably after June next year.
Oh, well, usually we do once a year. Usually we start them once a year. This year, for some reason, we got a wild hair to go ahead and start it. We started in January, and then we get a wild hair and said, okay, let's see if, because there were so many people calling us about the school that we thought we'd do that. And but if it makes, it makes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm in a dance competition that weekend. I'm going to do that instead of going to school, you know, having a class. Yeah, so if yes. You didn't know that? Oh, yeah.
At least Brady when I come.
Yes. Oh, my gosh, it's so much fun. I love doing it. So anyway, there's a competition, and I would be in class and not in the competition. But if that didn't happen, then that's okay too. Or even if I was just resting at home, that'd be okay too. Anything? I think we're all good.
We do have, in the front, we have an
Oh, right.
application for enrollment, and then also the details for each, for either
Yeah.
the one that starts in October or the one that starts in
Okay.
So January would be
January 2022. And then
Oh.
that's
No, we'll see if we can get both going, but yeah.
Right. Well, we would be seeing if we would get both going, yes. But the, yeah. Yes.
The first part of the year, that has traditionally been when we start classing, that there are a lot of people at the end of the year that are looking to make changes for the next year, and that seems to.
Although I have to say, it's coming hot and heavy now, man. Everybody wants out of that, you know. It's really kind of crazy how, you know, so many people want to come into this field. When I came in the field, it was a wink and a, you're doing something, you know. And then nobody had a massage therapist. There were not places to work. There was nothing. I don't know what possessed me in 1987 to do this. Do you know what I mean? It was like, but something did. Something took me by the hand and led me, and here I am. I never would have thought I'd be here. Not Tulsa, but just in this place, teaching at this level and stuff like that. But I've been teaching for 32 years. So just got it really official and licensed 6 years ago. That's when it got licensed. Yeah. So
yes, we are licensed to the OBPVS,
for the Oklahoma Board of
Professional Vocational Schools.
Yes, we are licensed.
We're official that
That's
way.
a mouthful.
I know.
It is. Whenever the
We'll let her remember that.
oh, totally. I just add extra letters and stuff like that. I do. So. Thank you so much for coming.
So much. And we'll be back in touch with you guys and check in and see.
Yeah, and there's, so here is, right here is group 7 dates, and here is group 6 dates, but, you know,